setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And thank you for joining me. I'm glad that you've come back to visit with me. Today is Political Tuesday, and it's the day that I get to spout out on political and business issues. I really want to say thank you to President Trump today because he spoke to the United Nations with strength, with clarity, with purpose. He was representing the United States and put America first. That is what we need in a president. Now, I'm hearing a lot of negative talk from the liberal left, and they're putting the president down for what he said. Congressman Liu out of California made such stupid remarks that it showed that he had no love for this country, but rather he had his love for his political agenda only. That's where the nation becomes dangerous. When you have politicians willing to put their political agenda in front of the nation's needs. Senator Feinstein did the same thing. Came out against what Trump said. When she has no knowledge of what makes strength, she wants to continue apologizing for this nation. What is she ashamed of? What has her party done that is so bad over the last 8 years that she has to continue to apologize to other nations for America? It's ridiculous. It's worthless. We keep hearing these messages come out of the liberal side of Washington, D.C. and out of various states in the entertainment industry. And they do not put America first, but rather they put a political agenda first, and that is dangerous to these United States. The president was right in what he said today before the United Nations. Henry Cabot Lodge was one of the first ambassadors to the United Nations, and he made this statement. The primary, the fundamental, the essential purpose of the United Nations is to keep peace. Everything it does which helps prevent World War III is good. Everything which does not further that goal, either directly or indirectly, is at best superfluous. And he was absolutely right. The United Nations was formed to keep peace. And we have member nations in there, Iran and North Korea, who are challenging peace daily. They challenge the safety of citizens across this world. And they have directly challenged the United States by supporting terror and by creating bombs to hit the United States. But these liberal politicians don't care about that because they are putting the political agenda in front of everything that is right, that needs to be said to these rogue nations that are creating danger. The ones that should be silent are those that are putting down our strength. The ones that should be silent are the ones that want to continue the apologize mode of the Liberal Democratic Party. So the president was right, and I support the president and what he said to the United Nations. I have been following the United Nations for years and years. I'm very proud of the service that Henry Cabot Lodge did within the United Nations. He was a diplomat, and he was a scholar, and he was a gentleman. And he represented the United States the best that he could in tough times. So here we go again. We have to stand firm as a nation. And we can only do that through respect. Nations must respect us as a nation that can get things done. The United Nations was put in the United States in New York City because it was a place where people could come to talk out their differences. Not to create differences, not to create issues between nations, but to resolve those issues. But you have got to do it with the strength of the United States. And that's my comments on Trump's speech today. Great speech. Absolutely the best speech that I've heard in a long time from any president. So now let's talk about tax reform. Because I'm getting really frustrated with what I'm hearing coming out of Ryan's mouth. Speaker Ryan has been coming out every single day about how Congress is going to do tax reform. And then we start hearing that, there's going to be some tax rate changes. Tax rate changes is not tax reform. Tax reform is when you reform the Internal Revenue Service and you get rid of all those thousands and thousands of codes that get you and me into trouble. That's tax reform. To create a reporting system, that takes just a minute to do instead of hours with your tax accountant. Now, I'm a tax accountant, and I'm talking myself out of a job, which I do not care, because we need to make this tax code simple. Every single time that you take a deduction on your tax return, that's an audible item. And pretty soon you get a letter from the IRS asking for you to tell them or show them that that deduction is actually there. And every single one of those deductions, your home mortgage interest, your education allowances, your business expenses, you know what? They're tied to a lobbying group. And that lobbying group is then tied to a congressman. You see how dirty it is? It's a dirty, corrupt cycle that goes round and round and round. So it's very difficult to change the code without changing the political system of almost corrupt bribery. Those lobbyists spend an awful lot of money on congressional races and donations just so that they can keep that tax deduction on your tax return. We need to make it simple. Yes, we need to change the tax rates. They need to be changed greatly. But we also need to change our tax code, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of nonsense that get changed again year after year after year, and pretty soon the taxpayer gets into more and more trouble, because when he signs on that dotted line on the tax returns under penalty and perjury, sometimes he does not know what he is signing. That's how complicated it is. We need to get away from this such complicated tax reporting that puts a lot of Americans into jeopardy because of audit issues. Let's make it simple. Simplify it. Come on. It's so simple. Simplify it. Make it easier. Eliminate the deductions. Eliminate the tax codes. And make it just one simple form that is simplified so that we don't have to go through pages and pages and pages of tax forms after you sign the tax return. And you've got worthless pages that are wasteful. Wasteful. Worthless. So tax reform, I have my doubts at the moment. In fact, McConnell is saying he wants to move it until 2018 to do any kind of vote. Well, here's the issue. You made a promise to the American people that you were going to take action immediately when you got elected. Each and every single one of you GOP people made a promise to the United States that you would reform the tax code, that you would repeal and replace Obamacare. You made those promises, and so far, nothing has been kept. Nothing has been done. Instead, what you do, you fight internally, and you fight with the president, and you fight with the American people. You're worthless. It is absolutely worthless what you're doing. Simplify the tax code. That's all that you have to do. Make the rates on Americans easy to understand, and that they're more evenly spaced out, so that people are being charged a tax rate that is fair. We're asking for simplification and a fair tax code, a fair tax rate on each American in each business. How simple is that? But no, what you have is you have these lobbyists that are coming in and talking to you and trying to get you, please don't take away the mortgage interest. It will destroy our business because it's no longer tax deductible. Baloney. People are going to buy houses no matter whether or not it's taxed or not, because it's the investment, not the tax deduction, that's important. Each and every American wants to make money on their houses when they sell them. They want to make a profit. The tax deduction isn't even close to anything that Americans are worried about. They want to make a profit. Don't listen to the mortgage industry that is trying to make you keep that deduction on there. It's worthless. People are going to continue to give charitable donations because it comes from the heart, not from the tax code. Come on, guys. Make it simplified. Simplify the tax code. That's all we're asking for. Make it fair to the American people. And do your jobs at lowering the expenses of the government. Stop spending so much money. It's easy. Stop spending so much money on wasteful events. Wasteful programs, I mean. So, will we get tax reform? I hope we get tax reform. I don't want to hear about, we're going to lower the tax rates and that's our tax reform. No, I don't agree with that. Tax reform takes guts. And if you Congress people have any guts, or you people in the Senate have any guts, you will do what is right for America and not what is politically advantage to you. So come on. Congress, you have had how many months since January until now to do something about tax reform, and you haven't done it. And the same thing happens with the Affordable Care Act, ACA, or Obamacare. You have had 8 years of talking and you've done nothing. Zero, zilcho. And then you've got liberal Democrats on the other side say, oh, this is going to be awful if you take away the ACA. ACA isn't working. It's damaged. It was damaged from the day that the bill was signed by President Obama. It was a bad bill. It was a dirty bill. It was so dirty that it had 21 taxes entangled within the Affordable Care Act. And then it went to court. And what did the court say? President Obama said, those are fees. Those are fees. And the Supreme Court said, no, those are taxes. And then we find out there's 21 taxes tangled inside the Affordable Care Act. It was a corrupt bill from the very beginning, and it has failed. It keeps going down day after day. Insurance companies are starting to pull out faster than ever before. Some states only have one provider under their plan. Deductibles have gone up. Rates have gone up and continue to go up. And we were told specifically by the Democrats and by Obama that the costs would go down. Further from the truth. And so we have the GOP who are in power at the moment, and they've been in power for a long time, and they should have had a plan by now